little bit late with some technical issues. So those are fun to deal with. Something that God's been running me over the coals with this last week is just doing my part to give him something to do in my life. You know, I mean, you can read through the Old Testament and you can see all these instructions that God gave to his people about having to do this and this and this, drive out these inhabitants, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And, you know, God always made a point for them to know that he was with them. But there was still action on their part. And, man, I have been, I've tried to be painfully upfront and transparent about just how much work I need to do, like as far as just loving people, being more compassionate and sympathetic and altruistic and understanding. And so I've been really trying to get a handle on that this week. Because, like I've been saying, man, you guys are my accountability group. whether you realize it or not, whether we talk or not, even when it's just between me and God and me coming before you guys, I'm still accountable to God for what I say, especially since I'm up on a soapbox here. So it's a good thing. Yeah, we'll just say it's a good thing. But man, you know, one of the things, it's something, just the whole being nice thing is something that God's been working with me on for years and years and years. And one of my fallback excuses, one of my regular go-tos was, well, God, this is what people expect of me. I mean, it's just how people know me. And, you know, God doesn't really buy that crap. And he'd be like, well, that's because that's how you've trained people to see you. How do you expect people to see you any differently or to expect you to act any differently? It starts with you. That's what he said to me. And I'm preaching here. And, man, that was, you know, as many times as I tried that excuse, he still just wouldn't buy it. He's more stubborn than me, I think. And so finally, this last week, man, God just started bringing all this stuff together because, man, there's times when I can tell I'm trying to minister to any extent, and I can tell God's not in it because I just haven't had the fellowship I need with him. And that's been happening too much the last couple of weeks. So I was trying to turn that around, and just going back to the last thing God told me, which was be nice to people. And that, you know, I like having nicknames for some of the people at work, and some of them are not that flattering. So that's one of the first places God had me start. And then just treating people like people instead of just ignoring them, because that's something I was having an issue with, just because they don't care about doing a good job as much as me or some of the other people do. So, man, I was just trying to separate that from just being able to represent God. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But hey, I'm on a roll here. I'm getting started. I'm doing something, and I'm doing more than I was last week or the week before. So give me some credit here. And man, you know, I can tell a difference. I mean, yeah, God imparted some of his grace to me to kind of give me, let's say we got a lawnmower, but we ain't got no gas in our yard. is about waist high, full of grass, weeds, whatever. That grace, man, that's like that ethanol-free gas we can dump in the lawnmower. It just gets us started. And then we're the ones pushing the lawnmower, unless you got one of them fancy self-propelled ones or one of them fancy riding lawnmowers, which we don't. That's how I stay limber. But you know, I mean, that grace, that's just like that's the Kickstarter that gets us going. Man, God gave me some of that so I could just, you know, I want to say something, or I want to have these thoughts and I want to entertain them for a little too long, and then get that check. You know, God would be like, hey, now's your chance to fix it before you dig yourself into a hole. And, you know, 6 or 7 times out of 10, I would catch myself. And then it started just getting to be easier and easier to do. I mean, yeah, I still suck. Well, at this. You know, I caught myself. Well, actually, today was a pretty smooth day. Yesterday was a little more rough, and we'll see how tomorrow goes. But, you know, I can see progress, and it's just getting easier and easier and easier. Because God's grace, man, it gave me the chutzpah, the oomph, the push that I needed just to get started. And then He's able to work with me as I go. Because, you know, I mean, I finally had a heart adjustment. I guess you could say God had a little come to Jesus chat with me where we have a pretty somber conversation about stuff I need to work on. God's better about that than most people I know. But, you know, He had that. He was able to get my heart back on track and my focus. And then through that, man, it's been a lot easier to just stay in communion with Him throughout the day. And then in that case, it just gets easier to hear Him give us that split-second chance to not slip up. You know, whether it's through words or actions or whatever. This is just what I've been dealing with. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of other people that are dealing with having to pick their words a little more precisely. But, man, we got to start somewhere. We got to give God a place to show up in our hearts. Otherwise, where's He going to go? As we draw near to Him, He draws near to us. I was asking God about references for just throughout the Bible for this, because I knew what I was wanting to talk about, actually, you know, maybe 4 or 5 hours in advance. And I guess we're just leaving the Bible stuff up to that Greg character and Pam and Bernard and Donner. Because this was something He just said He wanted me to take the principle and just bring it home. Man, there's plenty of Bible verses all throughout there we can use as citations for this. But sometimes it's just nice to have an example, a real life example from somebody that you know has been dealing with it. And if you don't know I've been dealing with it, man, you can talk to my mom, because I have been watching my tongue when she tells me about family issues. I'm like her sounding board, because I'm like halfway across the country. So when she starts getting all fed up with stuff, she'll just call me and vent and vent. And you know, it's cool, because it's nice to have somebody you can talk to that's not just right in the middle of it. You know, and I'm glad I can do that for her. And for a while there, man, some of the stuff she was saying would just hit a nerve in me, because it was affecting people I care about too. So I would have some pretty sharp words for those people. And especially my brother-in-law. And then this lady that has taken it upon herself to mentor my sister in the ways of, well, Wicca, we'll just call it that. Couldn't think of anything fancier. But, man, I had some real choice words that I've said to them and about them. And that right there, man, immediately just disempowers me to do anything on God's behalf for them. Even if it's stuff they don't know about, man, I'm still accountable to God for my heart towards them. So, I hope my mom knows I've been getting better about that. And then Carrie and I talked, and man, I got I am very intense when it comes to church people. I don't even know if intense is the right word. Cynical, caustic, petty. And, you know, the big puppy just walked in and laid down. But, man, again, a couple of those people I had some choice words for. Sometimes it was keeping them accountable. Sometimes it was just me putting them in their place, which wasn't even my place to do. Can you hear him chewing on the street? And, you know, I mean, that's something I've been working on. And I've been getting better. But maybe that's just because we were missing out on some church while Carrie was wrapping up her semester at school. So we'll see once we get back into the full swing of things. But I'd like to believe that I've been getting a little better. And then the work front, I think, was one of the worst. Because, you know, you go to church once, twice a week. You go to work 5 days a week, or 6 or 7, or 4, whatever, you know. But you're around these people a lot more than most others. And, you know, I can come up with I can paint these pictures of the people I work with and justify why I have these perspectives of them in my heart. But it doesn't matter, because what I had in my heart still wasn't God. Some of these people are atheists for a reason. Sometimes it's because they haven't had all the facts presented to them. Most of the time it's just because they've been hurt by church people. And I was one of them. And when God was giving me that little come to Jesus chat, he was not shy about making sure I knew that. So that was a tough one to swallow, and I have been trying to get better. I don't call those people by those names anymore. I don't get upset when they suck anymore. But it started with a conscious heart decision, and then it was complemented, it was followed consistently, repeatedly. I don't even want to tell you how many times. Just within the first 2 hours, I would show up at work. That God would just give me that check, and that check, and that check, and I would just have that opportunity just to redact the things that were starting to swell up in my heart in abundance and overflow to my mouth. But we just got to make a little effort. It's like I keep stressing. It's revival. It's supposed to be a collective thing through all of us. But how can it be when we're all just waiting on one person to start it? We can wait for our pastor, for Dave Roberson, for Gary Carpenter, for any number of people to spark that fire, and then we'll be ready. But man, that ain't how it works. How long are we going to be able to ride their coattails when it comes to that? You ever notice that the better you know God, the the higher the stakes are for the battles, the spiritual stuff you got to deal with. Man, before I started doing these broadcasts, I was it was a lot easier to just, well, I could choose how accountable I was to God. Let's just say it that way, because not that much was expected of me. Simple as that, man. I mean, now I'm putting myself out there, man, just to be a godly example, not just for the people in my circle, people I work with, family, whoever, but for you guys. And that is a much more consistent thing. Because I can go to work, man. We can tell jokes and just be stupid. It's like 85–90% guys back there. So you got one guy, you got one brain. You got two guys, you got half a brain, etc. We can have our stupid guy fun at work. I don't have to bring up God. But dude, what am I supposed to do on here? Man, there ain't no ignoring God when I jump up on here and start spouting off theology. And like I said, man, it's been a good thing for me because it's kept me from being complacent. It's made it easier for me to notice when I'm getting complacent. But along with that, man, that seems proportionate to just the amount of stuff that we have to power through to maintain our relationship with God. Now you start stepping out there, there's going to be a little bit of friction. You're going to find out which way the current's going in your life. And that's usually not the most welcome wake-up call. But we got to start somewhere, man. We got to give God a chance to just to do something in our lives instead of just talking about it. I was talking to Carrie about I recently listened to a sermon where there was a song at the beginning, you know. And I just started the sermon, and then I put my gloves on. I went outside and started doing some cleaning up. So I couldn't just, I have to take my gloves off, and I hate stopping working just because I feel inconvenienced by something on my phone. So this song just kept going and going, and it was the same line like 4 times, and then one more line, and then go back to that same line 4 times, and then a different line. I was like, all right, do it for maybe a minute, minute and a half. That's cool, get people in the mood, give them a little worshipful, God's presence, and then the teaching. Cool. Dude, it went on for like 8 or 9 minutes, and I was just in denial about it. I was like, well, surely it's going to end soon. It sounds like this thing is wrapping up. No, it was not the case. It was, oh my goodness. I never thought it was going to end. I thought I opened up the wrong file, and it was just going to be like an hour of this. So, I had some thoughts about that. But I didn't vocalize them, man. I was trying to stay upbeat about it. And I was telling Carrie afterwards, because she was curious what this sermon was about, too. And I was like, well, dude, the first 10 minutes of it was just a song over and over and over and over. And I just kept saying over and over and over just to get on her nerves. Finally, she caught on, told me to shut up, and then I moved on with my story. And then she called that the Hillsong effect. If you're familiar with the Hillsongs or Hillsong United, the bands out of Australia, popular, a lot of good music, but it seems like the contemporary stuff is just almost chanting. And it's like, what? Don't you have anything a little deeper to say than just like a godly Justin Bieber ripoff? Man, I completely forgot where I was going with that, too. Huh. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. But, yeah, dude, I draw a complete blank on that one. Yeah. man, yeah, my train of thought just derailed right there. I don't even know where to pick up now. I don't even know what I was talking about before. Huh. Oh well. Anyway, we got to start somewhere. Give God a chance to start doing something in our lives. Otherwise, if we don't start, what's he got to? Where can he pick up if we don't give him something to pick up on? You know, you feel me? If he didn't have people in the world, how's he going to minister? If the minister's hearts aren't willing, what's he going to do? How's he going to do it? If we all shut up, the rocks are going to cry out? Well, I haven't heard that yet, so we got at least one voice somewhere in the world. But I used to think that if I just kept praying, you know, God would bring up these issues to me, things he wants me to change. And if I just kept praying, then things would change. I would just wake up one day and the clouds wouldn't be as dark, the sun would shine brighter, the birds would sing louder, nobody would cut me off in traffic, whatever. But turns out Tulsa's a pretty popular place to get cut off in traffic. So it's about how I deal with it. And it's about my heart, man. It's not about our external circumstances changing. It's about us changing our perception and just focusing consistently on God. And not making provision for anger, for malice, for judgment, for irritability, for stress, for angst, for anxiousness, for fear, for anything. Man, what has God had to say about what he wants from you? Oh, the other dog moved in on the puppy's treat. Well, that was fun. Yep. The beagle, she just turned 2 a couple weeks ago, best we can tell. And then when we first brought this other puppy home, this Boxer Lab mix, he was just, I mean, he just had puppy ADD, you know, I mean, he was just in awe of everything. And so she would just distract him just for a quick second, then take his treat and run off, and then he'd look around for it and then just take a nap. But now he's starting to catch on. If he knows she's within like 3 feet of him, he'll just start growling, he'll just start freaking out. But they're about 3 feet from each other right now, and I guess he has decided she is no longer a threat. Oh, never mind. But yeah, we just gotta, it's about adjusting our heart for God. Otherwise, how's God gonna use us? You know? We gotta start somewhere. We gotta give God a chance. The dog's right underneath my desk. I forgot that one time I was playing a video game and I ended up kicking her right in the stomach. You're here to go, whoo! Maybe she didn't learn her lesson. But, yeah, man, it's just finding out what God thinks of you and what God wants to do for you. Man, that's two of the most powerful things ever. And just in fighting discouragement, in finding the perseverance and the strength to just keep going despite how hard it seems right now. I remember 6 or 8 months after I first moved down here to Tulsa, it's like my emotions just shut down. Like that whole side of my soul just went numb. Couldn't feel anything good or bad, and it was weird. And I mean, and that was when I started having thoughts about, well, you know, it's not like you're gonna get anything out of church. You don't feel good about going. May as well just stay home. And Puppy detects movement in his peripheral vision. It's okay, Puppy. And man, I would just lay there in bed, and my alarm would go off for church, and I would just be thinking, yeah, what's the point? I mean, at the time, I thought it was just thoughts, but it was external stimuli trying to influence my decision. I just lay there and like, man, I didn't move away from my family and all my friends and just my entire life just to come down here and skip the whole reason I moved down here. Man, that's a cop out. I ain't doing that. Then like a week of those kind of decisions later, it's like something just broke. I think it was at the first or second prayer and power conference at the prayer center, David Roberson. First or second one I'd been to. Jumped in one of those prayer lines and something just snapped. And since then it was a lot easier to discern those external thoughts, the stuff that the demons, things like that, are trying to shout into your ear, make you think they're your own, and then your own thoughts. And honestly, a lot of my own thoughts were right up in line with them for a long time, so it was hard to tell the difference. But once you really grab and establish within yourself how God sees you, what God wants out of your life, and how badly He wants to help you accomplish it, and that just becomes the litmus test for all our thoughts, for all our actions. And the bittersweet thing about that is we got a chance to judge ourselves now before God asks us all these questions when we start meeting Him face to face, up in glory. You know, we got a chance to make things right without God. I would hate for Jesus to have to ask me why I spent more time on video games than I did praying, than I did reading the Bible, than anything else. I mean, you know, but there's a 3-day weekend coming up, and my buddy in med school, he said he'll have time for video games then. And you better believe I'm binging on games that weekend. But it's not a consistent thing. You know, I can plan around it. I'm a big boy. So, it's nothing wrong with having fun, man. I'm building a bridge for him. As churchy as he is, without knowing God, hopefully my influence will do something once he starts looking for an answer. Once he starts wanting something more than church services, where he thinks God is. Zing! But, yeah, you've got a chance to help you out, man. It's worth it. I am so much happier since I let him just jump in and start giving me a chance to double check myself before I start going off and start just losing my cool. It's worth it. So, love you guys, and I will talk to you later. I'm sure one of these times I will force Carrie on here. Then you guys can all see what she looks like and that she's not made up. So, that'll happen soon.